Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for watching the Jeremy Dewitte Show right here by PoliceTube's Uncle on YouTube. I want to give you some updates about what's going on. As you know, Jeremy Dewitte is a serial police impersonator. He was arrested and sent to prison for 18 months back in 2021. And when he got out in 2022, he quickly violated his probation terms. And within 60 days of him getting out of prison, they arrested him for a violation of probation and put him back in jail. And he stayed in jail until June of 2023, and he was released. But recently he was rearrested. So now he's back in jail waiting to have court on a number of hearings. But I wanted to let you know that I've been going through the calls that he made while he was in jail. He mainly calls four people. He calls his attorney, Amir. He calls his wife, Rania. He calls his mother, and then he also calls his girlfriend, Jennifer. He actually calls her Brenda, but her name is Jennifer. Now, we've already released some of these jail calls. There's over 1,000 of them. And it's over 180 hours worth of Jeremy talking to these four people. And unfortunately, I can tell you that I'm already getting sick and tired of hearing them. And I've only released like 6 calls so far, so it's not looking good. I'm kind of getting tired of listening to Jeremy. I'm going to tell you why. First of all, when he calls his attorney, it's all down to business. And yes, sir, no, sir, thank you, sir. I'm so glad you're my attorney, sir. We all know that. But when he talks to the other 3 people, his mom, his wife, and his girlfriend, he has a very different attitude. And I've discovered why he continues to talk to Jennifer, even though everybody hates her, and he should hate her too, because she's really the reason he was put in jail and prison for so long outside of his own actions. She's the reason he got caught. But here's the thing. I've listened to a bunch of these jail calls, and he talks to his mother and his wife about him being sad. He actually cries a lot on the phone with them. And he pleads with them. He keeps telling them, I didn't do anything. They're just out to get me. But these jail calls, unlike the other ones in the years past, his mother and his wife do not want to hear it from him. They keep telling him, just stop it. Just stop with the excuses. And his wife and his mother especially keep telling him, this is because of you. And he tells them, no, it's just because they said I didn't shut down the YouTube channel. And I tried, he says. But like, for instance, his mother specifically told him, Jeremy, I don't have the time. Stop with the excuses. This is because of what you did. And Jeremy starts to cry because she's not supporting him in his delusions. And his mother is mad that he keeps calling her, wasting money on the phone. She got mad at him in one phone call because he wasted a $3 phone call just to call her, cry, and then hang up. And as you can see here, these 1,000 phone calls that he made in jail over those 7 months cost a total of $1,500 that they spent. And his wife and his mother were both complaining on the phone a lot that they don't have the money to keep accepting these phone calls or send him coffee. They complain that they don't have the $30 that he's requesting. Yet there's $1,500 being spent on his account just in phone calls. His mother and wife are tired of his basic abuse and lies. Now, when he calls his wife, she completely doesn't care about what he's saying anymore. And she just brushes him off, and she's rolling her eyes, and she's not even paying attention to him a lot of the time when he's talking. And he keeps asking her to do stuff, and she keeps saying no. And he even asks her on a recorded phone call to commit bank fraud for him, because she says, Jeremy, I don't have any money, and I don't want to go to work. And how am I going to pay the mortgage? And Jeremy tells her, he leans into the phone, he says, okay, look, I have a check in my desk. Go get that check, sign it with my name, and then go deposit it in the bank. And then every day you got to take out $500 as quick as you can before they figure it out. And she tells him, Jeremy, just stop. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to defraud the bank. Stop with this. And Jeremy says, oh, okay. Never mind then. And his wife, you can tell she's just sick of hearing these excuses and these frauds that he's insisting that she does. And his mother is the same way. They both just keep telling him, just stop it. Just stop with the excuses. So that's making Jeremy very sad to where he's crying on the phone. But here's the thing. Here's why he likes talking to Jennifer, because then he hangs up the phone with them and then he calls Jennifer And Jennifer completely feeds into his delusions. Jeremy doesn't even have to tell Jennifer that it's not his fault that he's in jail, because Jennifer will tell him. She says, it's not your fault. She actually blames Amir. She told Jeremy in one of these phone calls, and I'll play this for you at a certain point when I release these calls, but I just want to give you an update. But she tells Jeremy, the only reason you're in jail right now is because of Amir, your attorney. And Jeremy's like, oh, I know. And she tells Jeremy, you need to dump Amir and get a new attorney. You need to hire Michael Breen, your other attorney. Jennifer actually calls Mike her boyfriend because she likes talking to him so much. But Jeremy's like, no, I like Amir. We're sticking with Amir. And Jennifer keeps telling Jeremy that Amir is a piece of shit. And Jeremy's like, don't put that in a video. Don't publish that on the internet. We don't want to upset Amir. And Jennifer tells him the reason you're there right now is because of Amir, and Amir isn't doing his job. And Jeremy's like, oh man, am I in jail because of Amir? And Jennifer tells Jeremy that his mother and his wife are bitches. She asked Jeremy, why are you crying right now? And Jeremy's like, oh, my mom and my wife, they're upset at me and they're yelling at me saying this is my fault. And Jennifer told him, stop talking to those bitches. They're just bitches. And Jeremy's like, oh, maybe. She's talking about his mother and his wife, and he's kind of agreeing. Jennifer actually told Jeremy that the only thing that his mother and his wife want from him is his money. When literally on the phone calls, you hear Jeremy begging them for money. He's like, can you send me $30 in coffee in jail? And he's spending $1,500 on phone calls, mostly talking to Jennifer, by the way. It seems that Jennifer is in such a delusion that Jeremy likes to be there too, because they can share in their delusions. And that's the core reason of why Jeremy and Jennifer like to stick around together, even though Jeremy abuses her and she abuses him. At one point, his wife tried to set him straight and told him, Jeremy, if you would have just when you got out of prison, if you would have just stayed at home and just tried to get a job instead of going out. And Jeremy tried to tell her, I was with you every day. And she was like, no, you weren't. And we remember that he was actually out making videos with Jennifer, and she was getting him into more trouble. But his wife on the phone tried to plead with him, saying, Jeremy, you should have just stayed home with your wife and kid, and you wouldn't be in jail again. And Jeremy told her, no, this is because of the YouTube channel that I didn't take down. And his wife was like, whatever, Jeremy, like, you're not even listening. He tried to tell his mom the same thing, that this is because I didn't take the YouTube channel. We've been trying to take it down for a year, Mom. And his mom said, Jeremy, stop it. You briefly tried a year ago, and then you gave up. You didn't do what you needed to do. You should have dedicated more of your time to doing it. And Jeremy's like, but. And his mom's like, I don't have time for this, Jeremy. I've got to go to work. And you notice that none of this conversation that I'm telling you about has anything to do with his daughter. He barely ever mentions his daughter in these 186 hours of phone calls. It's almost always about poor him or needing money. And now here's the thing about money. His mortgage wasn't being paid for a while, so his house went into foreclosure. He had to get some money, borrow some money in order to take it out of foreclosure. So when he went back to jail for this, his house was on track. They just had to pay the mortgage. Jeremy was very concerned that they were going to lose equity in the house if they didn't pay the mortgage and it went back in foreclosure. So he told his wife, he described to his wife how to commit a bank fraud in order to pay the mortgage next month, and then which she refused to do. And then he called his mother and told his mother that Rania is going to cover the mortgage this month, but he needs her to pay $2,000 for the mortgage for next month. And here's the reason why. He says he's pretty sure that he's going to go to prison for 4 to 6 years. And he tells his wife that if he goes to prison, then she needs to sell the house because they're going to get $138,000 from the equity in the house. And his wife needs to use that to file for a divorce and then take their daughter Amira and move to Egypt and find a new husband that can be a good husband and a good husband and father for Amira. And then he starts crying. And his wife is like, Jeremy, just shut up. And then he called his mother and he told his mother, you know, if I go to prison for 4 to 6 years, you guys need to do the plan that we talked about where you sell the wife. I'm sorry, you sell the house and then my wife moves away to Egypt. And his mom was like, we know the plan, Jeremy. And it's just phone call after phone call after phone call of this, and Jeremy crying and trying to convince his wife and his mother that he's innocent and that he's being targeted and that none of this is his fault. And this has been going on since 2019, where Jeremy's been saying these same things to them. And at first they believed him and they fought for him, but now they're just very dismissive and they don't like it anymore, and they know that this is his fault. His mother says, you know, what you're saying, I'm not going to investigate it. I'm not going to research it. I don't even want to hear it. And it just makes Jeremy cry more. What's interesting is after he actually got out of jail, after sitting in jail for 8 months when he was making all these phone calls, he violated his probation again and went right back to jail. And so he's probably right now, as we're talking, having these exact same conversations with these same people again. And I don't know about their eyeballs. Maybe they need to be checked because they're just rolling around as they're just rolling and rolling every time Jeremy tries to give his story. It wasn't me. Their eyeballs are just rolling so much that they can't even see straight anymore. Over $1,500 in phone calls, and on every phone call, they're concerned about $5 or $6 being here and there, and they're like, ah. His mother's tired of listening to him. His wife is tired of listening to him. Jennifer still loves it. I'm getting tired of listening to him. I can tell you, even though there's 1,000 phone calls in 186 hours, I'm not going to be able to listen to all these. And I can guarantee you guys aren't going to want to listen to all these either. When he was in jail, when he was in prison for 18 months, he had a whole bunch of phone calls, and we haven't even released all those because they just became so repetitive, and then new things started happening. So what a lot of people don't even realize that we haven't even heard a lot of his old phone calls, much less how far are we going to get into these new phone calls. We're going to keep releasing them, though, right here on the Jeremy Dewitte Show and other places. So make sure you keep listening for as long as you can. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep grinding. But today I was just listening and editing, and I was like, this is just making me want to break down in tears because it's so cringe. If you were to take the full 185 hours of these phone calls and listen to them constantly, it would take you over a week of constant listening, 24 hours a day, to finish them all. Who's up for that task? You know who you are, right here in the Jeremy Dewitte Show, right here on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed because there's going to be a lot of Jeremy Dewitte calls. And if you want to check the link down in the description, there's a link to the PoliceTube Video Network, PTVN, over on Patreon. If you click over to that, you'll be able to hear Jeremy describe to his wife how to commit bank fraud. And she's like, no, Jeremy, I'm not going to do this anymore. That audio of him trying to convince her to commit bank fraud is up on the PT Video Network right now. Link's down in the description. Check it out. Appreciate you watching. Make sure you have a great day, as always.